Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. So we're right now going over this wonderful section where we're seeing Krishna's Yamas and Niyamas. It's a very important section. The Yamas and Niyamas became quite famous because of the Yoga Sutras and the yoga community around the world. And of course the Yamas and Niyamas in the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is a central topic, often studied. But there, in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali talks about 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. But here we see Krishna presenting 12 yamas and 12 niyamas. It's a fascinating and very important topic because the yamas and niyamas are very important. They are the very basis of the practice. It all starts with yama and niyamas. And in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Patanjali makes the point of saying, look, these are non-negotiable. These are absolutely important. And everybody has to do it no matter who you are, where you are, when you are. Everybody has to do these things. So these yamas and niyamas are guiding principles for a wonderful life. So these qualities are very important to study and put into practice in our lives. So what happened is last time we started going through the yamas. So in the last class, and of course if you want to see the last class and all the other classes in this course, we already have over 110 classes in this Uddhava-gita course. If you want to see all the classes, all you have to do is become a member of this channel. And the instructions are here in the description of the video. And then you check out Uddhava-gita.com where you can see the whole course. So, in the last class then we saw the following yamas. We saw ahimsa, non-violence, satya, truthfulness, and we saw not stealing the property of others, and detachment. So we saw these 4 yamas last class. So let's continue from there. So the next yama in the list is humility. So humility is a very important quality. In Bhagavad-gita, Krishna talks about humility as one of the qualities that leads to jnana. As in a description of jnana, he lists Hri. So what happens is, with humility, you open up your consciousness to receive information. The more you have of pride, the more inflated your ego is, the less chance for you to absorb anything from somebody else. There's just no room to take in wisdom. So with humility, we become open to receiving wisdom. We open ourselves to growing, to expanding our consciousness with humility. Also, humility is aligned with knowledge, with reality, because we are just infinitesimal little tiny sparks, and there's an infinite number of other souls. And of course, God is infinitely powerful, and everything is within God, and we're within God, and we're just these tiny, tiny, infinitesimal little parts, amsas of God. So, who are we to have, to be so proud, to be so full of ourselves? It's ridiculous. It doesn't match reality, because everything that you can be proud of, oh, I'm so intelligent, oh, I'm so rich, oh, I'm this, I'm that, and my family is this. But all these things, you just got them now, and you got them from Krishna. All the qualities come from God. If somebody is beautiful, they're beautiful because they got the quality of beauty from God. If they are intelligent, it's because they got the quality of intelligence from God. If they're detached, if they're like these powerful, yogis who can sit there without breathing underwater for 10,000 years, you got that from Krishna. So there's no reason to be proud of your own abilities. So what I always tell my students is, one very easy way to deal with excessive pride, of course there's a positive connotation of pride, we use for our children. Yes, you should be proud of you. In that sense of feeling good about yourself and acceptance. Of course, there's that nice. But I'm talking about like the nasty pride. Pride in the sense of, pride comes before the fall. So I'm talking about, this false vision of yourself as being glorious and better than other people. That kind of pride we do not want. So what I tell my students is, one very good way to get over this kind of toxic pride, let's call it like that. One way to get over toxic pride is to convert pride into gratitude. It's a very good trick. So let's say you're very proud because you're making lots of money. You're rich. So why not, instead of being proud about it, why not be grateful? Because again, it is you're receiving it. It's Krishna's giving it to you. And it's his karma, Krishna. And these things could be taken in just a blink of an eye. So just turn it into gratitude. I'm so grateful for this wealth. Oh, you're very beautiful. I'm so grateful that I have fame. I'm grateful for fame. Power, grateful for the power. So you're proud because you have a beautiful family. Be grateful because you have a beautiful family. You're proud because you have a beautiful house. Be grateful because you have a beautiful house. And so on. So you can easily just get that same feeling, wow, this is really special. But instead of like, oh yeah, it must be because I'm really special. Instead of doing that, just say, no, it's because I received these gifts. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for them. And then you make the most of them, understanding that they're not actually yours, that they're all coming from God. It's a very important point. Okay, next one here, asanchaya, being non-possessive. Being non-possessive, like I said, everything comes from God. So one of the key qualities in spiritual life is never to think that something is mine. So the whole mine concept, we have to throw out the window because it's actually not yours. I mean, how is it yours? These things are made out of the gunas, out of matter, prakriti. So everything is made of matter, made of material energy. And what is material energy? Material energy is one of Krishna's energy. He says, this is my Devi Esha Gunamai. This is my divine energy of the gunas. So everything literally is made of the energy which belongs to God. It's not yours. You can't make anything. You couldn't make anything because you have no power over the gunas. The gunas belong to God. So God may grant you power to put things together, to get a seed and put it in the ground and put water in it and watch, a tree grow from that, or get some materials from the ground and, cut them and saw them and melt them and make something. But these things are all coming from God. They're all coming from nature. You can see that because they're coming from nature. You can see that. So nothing is actually yours. And the proof of this is that at any second, they get taken away, right? At any moment. When death comes, everything gets taken away, including your body. So not even your body is yours. You can't even have the feeling of possessing your body because even that isn't actually yours. It's God's. It belongs to God's material energy. And God is lending that to you now. So again, the way we use that, the way we convert that strange feeling of possessiveness is to say, no, actually, I don't possess these things. These things have been lent to me. I am in charge of them. God has put me in charge of these things. And so I should take good care of them because they belong to God, right? If your friend lends you a car or something, you're extra careful with that car because it's not yours, right? You're very careful with it because it's not yours. So you're really careful with your car, but with somebody else's who lent it to you, you have to be extra careful. So everything has been lent from God. At any moment, it gets taken away. It was given to you, and at any second, your body, your house, anything you have gets taken away from you. And we see that throughout history. We see that in the news every day. People lose everything. Hurricane comes, boom, that's it. Everything's gone. So, weren't they mine? Was it in my possession? Well, no, it wasn't yours. It was just lent out to you. It wasn't actually yours. So non-possessive, being non-possessive is a very important quality to live life better. To live life, again, aligned with reality. Everything we're doing here is bringing it in alignment with reality. That's the key to yoga. When you look at yoga, all these teachings, all they're doing is just bringing you aligned with reality, and then life becomes much better when you're not living in a fantasy concept, because the fantasy concept gets crushed, destroyed when reality comes knocking. So when you think that you're your body, and then death comes, and then that's it, you're crushed. Like, what happened? And like, you're completely confused. You got it all wrong. Your whole life was a waste of time. Or you think things are actually mine, I possess everything, and then boom, a hurricane comes, something comes, war comes, you lose everything. And then you're just like, oh, what? Impossible. You think your family is my child and but then they're gone. Death takes them away, or you get taken away, or whatever. Tragedy happens, and then you get crushed because reality all of a sudden imposed itself on your fantasy. So with yoga, because we are aligning ourselves with reality, we never get that shock, or at least we get a much reduced version of that shock. Because no, I know this isn't mine. I know this has all been lent out to me. I know this isn't my son or my wife. These are eternal souls in their own path. So I know these things. So when something happens, reality comes knocking, I'm like, okay, reality, I knew about this. It's still not nice, but I'm prepared for it. I won't get crushed by it. I won't get destroyed by it. So being non-possessive is just being aligned with the simple, obvious fact that you don't possess anything. You are a soul, and that's it. Everything else is part of this material illusion, is part of God's energy, is part of this big system of virtual reality called material life, called Maya. Next one, astikyam. So astikyam is faith. It's translated as faith. Here it's been translated as faith in Dharma, in the principles of Dharma. So it's faith in general, faith in the Vedas, faith in Dharma, or just faith. Astikyam just means having that faith. And what is this faith? It's interesting. One of the things I find quite interesting, at least, is when you compare the path of yoga and monotheism in the Vedas, and if you compare that with Abrahamic traditions, you have a very different role of faith. So in the Abrahamic traditions, faith is foremost. It's right there. They talk about faith. It's talked about a lot because you have to believe. You have to believe these concepts. You have to accept these, in different religions. Okay, you have to accept this affirmation. You have to accept that affirmation. You have to accept this concept. Oh, you accept the death of Jesus with this. It's like the Prophet Muhammad. You have to accept these things. You have to have faith in these things. This is like the bedrock of it, is the faith in these things. You have to have faith in the laws. So faith comes first and foremost. Like it's not, everything's going to be built on top of faith, and you have to keep the fire of faith going. If you lose the faith, you're lost. That's it. It's gone. But in the Vedas, as you can notice, if you've been doing all these, 118 Uddhava-gita classes here with me, for example, you see that faith hardly ever comes up. It's not even a thing. What's a thing is jnana, is knowledge. It's like, okay, this is what reality is like, and this is the obvious way you're going to behave in light of reality. So it's about understanding like who you are. So reality, who are you? You're your body? No, you're an eternal soul. So how are you going to behave? And is there a God? Yes, there's a God. God is like this. So how are you going to behave? What's going to be best for you? Now that you understand reality, what's the obvious path forward? So in yoga, we're always just like uncovering the reality, truth, and then, okay, well, given that, this is obviously going to be better. And then you feel the results. Like, okay, it works. Now that I'm being non-possessive, I'm happier. Now that I'm practicing humility, I'm happier. Things flow better. I deal better with life's problems, with life's challenges. So you get these things, and it works because you're uncovering reality. But it's not so much about, oh, you have to have faith. But, of course, faith is there. Because you need faith in the sense of like, look, you have to open the book, right? Why would you want to read Uddhava-gita? You have to have some faith. Have some faith that this is actually, bona fide and important holy scripture. So there's faith there. You're going to read the Bhagavad Gita. Why am I going to read the Bhagavad Gita? You have to have some faith to like, yeah, look, everybody's saying it's good. You should believe it as well. So that believing that it's good, that's faith. Believe that following a life of Dharma is good. That you need a little faith. Like, yeah, look, have some faith. Check it out. Because if you don't have enough faith, then you're like, nah, forget it. Rubbish. I won't even look at it. I don't care for it. So you need that faith to just open the door and then start, okay, let's give it a try. It's like, little kids, like they don't want to eat stuff. You say, just try it. And you always say, just try it, because at least just try it. So just trying it, that's the faith part. Oh, yeah, it's not so bad. And then it's like, oh, this is really good. So you have to have the faith to take that first step. So faith in Dharma, faith in the Vedas, Ashtiki, of course, eventually faith in God. You need that just to open up the door so you can start absorbing it, start practicing it, start feeling it. So that's Ashtikyam. Next, brahmacaryam. Brahmacaryam, often translated as celibacy, but of course, this is a general instruction. The Yamas and Niyamas are for everyone. So celibacy wouldn't be for everyone. So brahmacharya is also just translated as acting, just restricting your sexual energy within the dharmic confines. So you can just think of brahmacharya like that. Brahmacharya is acting in terms of the sexual issues within dharma. And what does that mean though? So that means that a couple who are living and married and they're having sex, that's brahmacharya as well. Or now if they're cheating, if they're jumping out of the marriage, and having sex, that's not brahmacharya anymore. Then that's just being a rascal. But if you're within marriage, if you're married and you keep your sexual activities to married to a sacred union, I say, because people these days maybe they don't want to get married, in the full sense of their country's laws, they don't like it, whatever. So sacred union, you really have this is it, we're a couple, we live together. Yeah, in Portuguese, we use the word casar, which means house, to house yourself. So when you're housed, with somebody else, that's it. That's what I mean, sacred union. You made a pact, you actually, I got your back, you got my back, we're a unit. So sacred union. If you're married on paper, that's up to you. But within that sacred union, so sex within that sacred union, that's okay. With yourself, masturbation, it's okay, because there's nothing wrong. You're not affecting anyone, you're not hurting anyone, it's perfectly fine. So within yourself, within marriage, it's also brahmacharya. Now what's not, and of course, full-on celibacy is brahmacharya, just like, okay, I'm not gonna, if people, but again, it's like, only if it's natural. And of course, this research points out that there's about 1 to 2% of the population who are asexual. They just don't have any sexual desire. They're just not inclined. They're just not into it. So that's okay. So, but you can't force, non-sexuality at all, like no masturbation, no sex, for the populace in general. That wouldn't make sense. And then the Yamas and Niyamas would only work for what? It's a tiny minority, the 1 or 2% for whom it's natural. No, that wouldn't make sense. So brahmacharya really means just proper etiquette when it comes to sex, behavior, following these 3 rules. So brahmacharya. And Krishna says, Monam, silence. Now, silence is wonderful. I love silence. I mean, you only see me talking here all the time, but when I'm not here in front of the camera talking all the time, I do spend a huge part of my day in silence, and I love silence. I don't like being around people talking too much. I like silence. I like being isolated in silence. That's just my thing. But silence really is wonderful because, it's funny. Some people hate silence, right? I mean, I know people, you know people who, like, as soon as they come in the house, they have to switch the TV on. You have to have something going on, radio, before it used to be radio or TV, or they just got something in their ears all the time and they're just non-stop listening. Something's got to be like making noise all the time. They wake up, it's like, because they can't handle silence. These people can't handle silence because their mind is a minefield of just craziness. They haven't dealt with anything. It's just horrible thoughts. So as soon as they have silence, they're attacked by all the garbage, all the monsters and skeletons in their mental closet, and they just, can't take it. So then they put on some noise, a TV or something. And then they go, so they don't hear themselves. But you have to hear yourself. You have to have silence. So when you do practice, when you do follow the method, the 3T path, and you gradually, you live better and you deal with your emotions and you follow Dharma and Bhakti and Jnana and the mind in the here and now. So when you actually follow everything being taught here, your mind becomes a wonderful place. Your mind becomes nice. You will like your mind. You will appreciate your mind. You won't be afraid of your mind. And as such, you will be able to be with yourself because you will like yourself. You'll be a good self because your true self is wonderful. Your true self is divine. You're a divine spark. You're wonderful. God loves you. God wouldn't be an idiot to love something that wasn't any good. He loves you because you're wonderful. You're this beautiful, loving, divine spark full of creativity and beauty and wonderful emotions and kindness and sweetness. So that's who you are. That's your true you. So why wouldn't you want to hang out with yourself? Be with yourself and enjoy the presence of yourself. And that's what happens in silence. You're with yourself. So if you don't like silence, it's because you don't like yourself. So you have to work on yourself, and that's what we're doing, self-improvement and self-realization. That's the subtitle of the 3T path, self-improvement and self-realization in yoga. That's what we're doing. This is what this is all about, self-improvement and self-realization in yoga. That's what Krishna's teaching in Bhagavad-gita, here in Uddhava-gita, self-improvement, self-realization. And when you do this path, when you follow the path of self-improvement and self-realization, you will like yourself. Yourself will be, because it's, again, everybody's self is wonderful. You just have to get the dirt out and clean the stuff out and throw away the things and the bones out of, get the skeletons out of the closet. And then you have a wonderful self. And in silence, you're with yourself. So silence is when you get to work on these things, you get to work on yourself, and you get to be with yourself. So it's actually wonderful, it's important to get there, and once you get there, once you advance enough, then it's just wonderful just to be there. Because it's you, it's wonderful, you're there. And of course in Bhakti, we're with Krishna all the time. We're with Krishna all the time, and we're in connection. That's what Bhakti is, that's what yoga is connection. Krishna says, always think of me. So we're always thinking of Krishna, at least, as much as your Bhakti allows you. So in silence, you can be with yourself, you can be with Krishna. So what's there not to like about silence, right? It's like, you're wonderful, Krishna is supremely wonderful, so then it's an amazing time in silence. And when there's no silence, then something else is like, it's taking you away from that inner space. Okay, so silence is wonderful. Next one is steadiness, staidyam. Now steadiness is a wonderful quality. Steadiness, think of like steady, you're fixed. Because what's the opposite of steady? Is your mind going on fickle? Your mind is all over the place. This and that, and you feel like this, I actually know this, and I'm doing this, I'm doing the other thing. And your mind is all over the place. And you can't do anything. And what happens is, all the good stuff in life requires steadiness. All the good stuff. You want to be good at anything, you have to stick to it. You want to learn a language, you have to stick to it. You want to, play golf, you have to stick with it. You want to play piano, you have to stick with it. You want to learn whatever, yoga, you want a self-realization, you have to stick with it big time for the rest of your life, for the rest of your existence. So it requires steadiness. And living a life in sattva requires steadiness. And actually a life in sattva will give you steadiness. But to be able to look, I need to have a proper diet in sattva. I need to have proper sleep schedule. I need to keep a good daily, I need to go to the gym and do my exercises. So all these things require steadiness. Without steadiness, you can't cultivate good health, good sleep, good eating. You can't cultivate good relationships without steadiness. You can't do anything without steadiness. Can't do anything. So steadiness is always there. It's like when you go and you're like, okay, this is it. I'm going to stick with it. You know, I have the 3T. Okay, I'm going to stick with this study. I'm going to stick with this course. I'm going to watch the whole course from beginning to end. I'm going to study the whole of the Bhagavad Purana from the first canto to the 12th canto, the whole thing. I'm going to study it carefully. That requires steadiness. You have to stick with it. This is a big book, the Bhagavad Purana. We're just doing here, we're 118 classes here, just doing a small bit of the Bhagavad Purana, just in this little book here, just a part of this book, a part of this one little book here. That's what we're doing here in 118 classes. So if we're going to go through the whole Bhagavad Purana, which is absolutely wonderful, over 14,000 verses, you're going to have to stick with it, right? It's kind of like you have to stick with it, have a schedule. I know you have to work, take care of kids in your house, but you have to okay, I'm going to stick with it. And then if you stick with it, if you do your 3T path practices, if you're doing japa every day, 10 minutes of study every day, eating prasad every day, if you're doing these things, wonderful advancement will come. It doesn't require okay, I'm going to have to drop everything, go live in an ashram. No. No, you just adjust your life, and with steadiness, you keep advancing, you keep going because you're steady. So you do it for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, 40, and you're sticking with it. And then there's no saying, there's no limit to what you will achieve with steadiness. So staidyam, steadiness. Okay. Next, after steadiness, kshama, forgiving. It's wonderful that Krishna included kshama here, isn't it? It's very nice. So Patanjali left that one out. He also left steadiness out. So, and monam out. So there's lots of good ones here that Krishna included that Patanjali left out. So kshama, forgiving. Forgiving is so important. Because what happens when you don't forgive is that you keep carrying that poison with you. People think that forgiveness is something you should do out of kindness to the person who committed the offense against you. Oh, if you're a good person, you should, out of kindness, forgive that person, to help that person. You think it's for that person. It's not. It's not for the person who committed the offense against you, who hurt you, who caused you grief. No, forgiveness is for you. We want to forgive for us, not for the perpetrator. What the perpetrator does, that's their problem. But it's for us. You want forgiveness for you, for your quality of life. Because until you forgive, you will carry that poison within you. The hurt, the pain will stay with you. So forgiveness is just the act of putting the trash out. You're putting the trash out with forgiveness. It's like, that's not part of my life. Who wants to have some horrible deed as part of your life? You don't want to, no, it's part of my being. Yes, I was attacked, I was hurt, he stole from me. So then you're going to carry that hate, that pain, that suffering with you. Yes, I'm going to carry it with me. I won't forgive them. But then you're just carrying that pain with you. It's defining you. Why would you want pain and somebody else's horrible mentality and deeds to define you. You don't want that, no. You want to be defined by these wonderful qualities. So forgiveness is just, and also the obvious thing, as Jesus pointed out, is like, obviously, forgive others so you can be forgiven for the stuff you've done, like, also just it makes sense. It's like, look, what, are you like some perfect person? You really think that you haven't caused grief and pain? I mean, just like, you just can't help it, just even accidentally, and sometimes not accidentally, you've caused grief and pain to others. And this is in this life, what to speak of millions of other past lives. So you've done your fair share of evil, of hurt. So of course you want, forgive and be forgiven. It's like, God, look, I forgive them, and please forgive me for my transgressions, but so it's just a simple, obvious point, be forgiven and forgive. Just everybody, we're just trying our best. Let's just focus on trying your best, and you just forgive. You're just like, okay, look, that happened. It's actually my karma anyway. If somebody did something horrible to me, the truth is they're just an agent of my karma. They're just like a teacher, a teacher I didn't want, but I needed, that I created the need for. I created the need for that teacher in my life. So it was a hard lesson. It was a terrible lesson, but who created the need for the lesson? I did. It's my karma. Nothing could happen to you that's not your karma. It's just impossible. It just can't happen. So if something does happen, then it's because it's my karma. It's also God's will. God said, yeah, well, it's tough, but I think you need this lesson. It's going to be good for you. And you're like, oh, I don't want the lesson. Like kids don't want to go to school. My kids, they're like, I don't want to go to school. But you have to go to school, and then it's good for them. They learn, but they don't want to go to school. So we don't want lessons. That's okay. It's part of normal childish mentality, not wanting lessons. Nobody wants lessons. I don't want it. But then it comes, it's like, oh, but whose lesson was that? It was my lesson. Why did I have that lesson? Because I was something I needed to learn. It was something I was too attached to. Something, I need to get over. So forgiveness is also just, again, aligning yourself with reality. Like, okay, it's law of karma. I did stuff I need to learn. I need to get out of here. At the very least, there's the lesson I need to get out of here. I need to seriously prioritize my self-realization and get out of here. I need moksha. I need liberation. I need kaivalya. I cannot take another birth here. I can't mess around and risk taking another birth, because this world is tough, it's horrible, it's got so many things going on. Look, it just happened, something horrible happened to me, but that's the way it is. That's just the nature of material life. It is full of suffering. Krishna says it's an ocean of suffering. This is God saying, this is an ocean of suffering you're in, get out. And you're like, no, I like it here, I'm going to stay. Well, okay, well then here's suffering. And then so when suffering comes, it's like, I told you it was an ocean of suffering. Why is it, don't just get out. Krishna says, I'm gonna get you out of here. Just take my hand. Krishna says so in Bhagavad-gita, just like, I will be the savior. I will save you from the ocean of birth and death. So anyway, so very important to have forgiveness. And on that note, we're gonna have one more yama to see in the next class, and then we'll go on to the Niyamas. So wonderful, right? Wonderful, wonderful qualities. This wonderful paragraph, section of this chapter. And I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am enjoying it. Just, just looking at these qualities and meditating on these wonderful qualities and thinking about them. They're so wonderful. So have your rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.